Hello and welcome to another anime lore and theory video. I'm Shergok, your host, and today we are going to take a closer look at the Elf Kingdom and what will happen to it. But before we're going to take a closer look at any of this, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as say thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. And with that said, let's get to the topic at hand. Ainz is about to launch a full-scale attack on the slain theocracy, mobilizing the entirety of Nazarick's Grey Tomb for the effort. And the theocracy's survival looks extremely unlikely, to put it mildly, especially now that no one remains who can wield the world-class item Downfall of Castle and Country. Sure, it's possible that she is distantly related to one of the players from Nazarick, perhaps sparing her and even slain from the absolute worst that Nazarick has to offer due to this connection, but I believe the real point is how Platinum, Dragonlord and the other dragons will respond to this overt attack. Platinum has already intervened once in the Riesta's kingdom, trying to ambush Ainz and off him when the opportunity arose. In other words, we might see a much more powerful retaliation this time. And Platinum himself, as in his real body, could appear, alongside Deep Darkness Dragonlord Cure Elim Los Malvar and the Dragon Councillors of Arkland, and this could lead to an apocalyptic battle not seen since the end of the War of the Eight Great Kings, the Civil War that is. Or the theocracy could just be wiped out and then become the Cuts Plane 2.0, and Ainz would be done with it. But what I want to focus on is, however, something entirely different, namely what will happen to the Elf Kingdom, which was recently conquered by Slain. During Ainz's attempt to capture King Dekam-Hugin, he encountered Zeshi Zetsuma instead and took her back to Nazarick, instead of the king who perished under her boots. But during all of this, the entire city, the capital city of the entirety of the Elven Kingdom, and the only city that was so well defended that predators weren't a threat anymore there, was already under siege, and there was a wide path carved through the entirety of the Elf Forest. So it stands to reason that the entirety of the Elf Kingdom has fallen, and that basically it's now just about controlling all of the remote villages and root out any resistance. So the question then is, when, not if, when the theocracy is defeated, what will Ainz do with the rest of the Elf Kingdom, now that their king, who ruled for centuries, is dead, their capital has fallen, and even his strongest daughter Zeshi Zetsumai is in Nazarick's custody? As mentioned in previous videos, Ainz not only had a good time in the Dark Elf village, but he also saw a great opportunity there, allowing Aura and Mara to play and interact with peers their own age. In other words, although Ainz's hatred and disgust for the theocracy came out so strongly that even Albedo thought her secret plan had been discovered just from the tone of his voice, he likely views the Elf Kingdom more positively, especially because of Aura and Mara. The current geopolitical situation is also in his favor. If the elves, currently suffering under Slain's rule, were to accept Ainz as their liberator, it would be the classical example of carrot and stick: destroy the theocracy that brainwashed Sheltier, and in return rebuild the damaged Elf Kingdom that had given Ainz a very nice time during his holiday. And there's another good reason to think that the Elf Kingdom will be integrated instead of destroyed: the Great Forest of Top. This region, which surrounds the southern tip of Arcelesia and its mountain chain, was pacified over the course of 5 volumes, and its last resistance, Gru and Riarius, were dealt with by Volume 8, which takes place before Volume 7, chronologically speaking. And Aura played a key role in this as a ranger who knew the forest well, and even knowing in Volume 2 already where Muske was located. So I believe the Great Forest of Top could serve as a model for what the much greater Forest of Ivasha might eventually become, if the Sorcerer Kingdom formally annexes the area. The first step would be to explore and map the forest, its northern, southern, eastern and western extents, and key regions of special interest would also be scouted especially thoroughly, similar to how the lizardmen and the frogmen were found near the lakes at the foot of the Silesian mountains. And the lake near the elf capital could also hold many such surprises. And the forest is probably bordered by a mountain range as well, beyond which lies a vast desert, home to the capital of the 8 Great Kings. And once the forest is fully mapped, it would be pacified, the beasts eliminated, and the scattered settlement offered a deal they can't refuse: join or be destroyed. Just like the Great Forest of Top went from being a green hell to a relatively safe zone, by New World standards, the dangerous Forest of Ivasha, with all of its beasts, could become just as safe under Nazarick's rule. And this would not only greatly benefit the Wood and Dark Elves, but also all of the other species living in the forest, be they dwarves in their mountainous caves, lizardmen living across the lake, or heteromorphic beings like Trends. Economically and socially, it would strengthen the inter-village ties, because previously villages were more or less isolated. They were islands, tiny spots in a vast green ocean, teeming with dangers. And also they needed pretty large hunting grounds. And of course, too many elves on a single place would invite predators. But under a unified kingdom, all of these conditions would change, and trade and social cohesion and coordination would improve immensely. In other words, the kingdom would become much easier to govern, and with easier resource extractions and safe travel on top, the economy would grow rapidly. And a newly freed and rebuilt elf kingdom would also be a fresh market for the flourishing economy of the sorcerer kingdom and its many products. For example, runecraft items and weapons. And then we arrive at the question, what is the political fundament on which this state will be built? Well, we've read time and time again that heterochromia, meaning having 2 different eye colors, is seen as a mark of royal blood in the elf kingdom, and possibly as a divine right to rule. We don't know if this is true or just propaganda by the late King Decamhugan to justify his rule, but the 3 elves from Aesir Usrud seem to believe it. And that means Aura and Mare, who also have heterochromia, could formally claim the throne. And in practice they might delegate rule to the 3 elves serving them, or act as figureheads, while the administration, headed by Albedo and co., run things day to day, just like it does in the rest of the Sorcerer Kingdom. And another possible ruler would be Zeshi Zetsumai, because if Antilene Heran Fosh, Zeshi's real name, really is distantly related to Yamaiko's sister, a guild member from Nazarick, then she may not only survive captivity, but also might be allowed to rule the Elf Kingdom as a vassal in Ainz name. Because Zeshi also has heterochromia, black and white eyes that is, fulfilling the same foreshadowing of royalty and a claim to a elven kingdom's throne. And she could then reconnect with her elven heritage and form stable relationships with beings who age, like her, and not just age very fast and then perish, just like the humans from her own childhood. So in short, with the occupation of the theocracy and the loss of its leader, I believe that the Elf Kingdom is currently at rock bottom, and that it will recover under Ainz rule, likely to a puppet monarch. And of course, other systems like a democracy are also possible, where a council governs, and the former kingdom acts more as an allied state, like the Dwarf Kingdom, rather than as a direct vassal. But again, the strong theme of heterochromia, suggesting monarchy, is the most likely direction. And with that said, now it's your turn. What do you think about the Elf Kingdom and its future? Let me know it down in the comment section. Also, please check out my Patreon if you want to support me beyond just leaving a like or sub. And with that said, I say thank you very much for watching. Thanks to my Patreons for supporting this channel. And as usual, I say my special thanks to Ada Daddy Ada, ASK, Bad Guy Yee, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon S, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Din Pep, Dragonlord Placido Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feralchivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Le Louche Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Lofrazer, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, Oh Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pentum, Personage, Ruru, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Q&A Caracos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Sir Axolotl, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rocket Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenokai, and Sonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.